socialist movement in the United States. Reverend Claudia De La Cruz is a mother, theologian, popular educator, lifelong community organizer, born in the South Bronx to Dominican immigrant parents. She has spent nearly, come on, DR in the house? Okay. She has spent nearly 30 years building people power locally, nationally, and internationally. She is the executive director of IFCO, Pastors for Peace, the Interreligious Foundation for Community Organization, and she co-founded the People's Forum in New York City. She's also served 8 years as the pastor of her own congregation. In 2024, she ran for president of the United States. Endorsed by the Peace and Freedom Party, not to play the game, but to show working people what is possible when we organize. That's right. Claudia brings theologian's commitment to justice, a pastor's heart for the people, a socialist commitment to liberation, and an organizer's understanding that real change happens from the ground up. And she is here today because she knows, and we know, that another world is not just possible, it is a necessity. Please help me in welcoming Reverend Claudia De La Cruz.
Amongst the people of Oakland, drenched in the revolutionary history of the Black Panther Party, the immigrant communities, and so many. So thank y'all for being here. I want to thank the William Chapel Baptist Church for welcoming us. And man, I went to church on a Saturday. and it was, it's been amazing. I had my favorite rap group ever mentioned. It was the best sermon I've heard in a long time. If you know me, you know the Boo and I, we go back. But I'm method man. M-E-T-H-O-D. That's right. I'm that. I want to thank the Peace and Freedom Party. And I want to say that I am a proud and conceited member of the Party for Socialism and Liberation. Respectfully and humbly. Throughout the 2024 presidential campaign, I was often asked several questions. There were 3 questions that I want to share with you today. The first one was, why are you a socialist? Why is socialism? And I would answer, because I've been a survivor of the crimes of capitalism. Capitalism has made me a socialist. The second question, why a socialist party? Why are you part of the Party for Socialism and Liberation? Why couldn't you find another vehicle? And my response has been, and will continue to be, because I've done organizing in many different vehicles and instruments. I've been a community organizer in nonprofits. I've been an organizer in collectives. I've been an educator. I'm a theologian. But to belong to a political party that is beyond the representation of our people, but actually make our people protagonists in the transformation that is necessary, that is my responsibility and commitment as part of the working class, which is the largest family in history. As the daughter of immigrants, I'm speaking with all of you as a Black Caribbean mother. I'm speaking with all of you as a person of faith.
Yeah.
The type of faith that turned tables, the type of faith that said that faith isn't a refuge, is a call to action.
Great.
And being in this space reminded me of that, and so I'm very grateful for this space and people like Reverend Chambers, who is out here preaching And the third question was one that was always kind of interesting because whenever I approached this question, people were on the fence, and I referred them to history, and then we would struggle a little bit more together. I think conceptual unity, being aligned, is also a result of struggle. And we have to struggle with our people because the imposition, the ideological and cultural imposition of our people has been such that many times they act against their interests without knowing that they're acting against their interests. There's a huge question that came up, and it was a question of viability. You know, every election cycle you have the Democrats come out in their apparatus. You have, you know, the media. You also have very well-meaning friends and family that will say, be realistic. You have to be realistic. You cannot be so naive to think you're going to win. People that will come out and say, a single issue won't get us to power. I don't know how many of you probably heard that. With the amount of work and the amount of energy in the streets against the genocide in Palestine. Single issue voting, they would call it. A genocide. Like, you're out here defending humanity because you see your reflection in the babies in Gaza, and they're calling it a single issue. They will say things like, vote for what is viable. And I want to ask y'all the same things that I asked those folks that I encountered. Who told you what viable was? Who decided that for you? And I'd also ask them, was it viable in 1965 for black sharecroppers in Selma to demand the Voting Rights Act? Was it viable for enslaved black men, women, and children to go on strike? Was it viable in 1934 for workers in San Francisco to go on strike? It wasn't viable for those who were oppressing. They called them radical. They called them, you know, idealistic. They called them communist. Which, by the way, I don't know who ever thought that that was some shameful tag. But at the end of the day, I said it from my faith. Jesus was more of a communist than he was a capitalist or imperialist. The very truth is that viability is a trap. Viability is a lie told to us by our class enemies to limit our ability to fight and win what has been told to us is impossible. But I come from a tradition of people that tell us dare to win, do the impossible. They tell us that the system works, and somehow we need to get into the system and manage capitalism. They tell us we just have to vote harder. I mean, I've heard that. I mean, don't laugh like I'm the only one that's experiencing that. You know, I hang out with the wrong crowd, but not that, you know, not that different from the crowds that you probably hang out with. I've been told that. You gotta vote harder. And you have to fix it from within. Now, for 40 years, not 4, not 8, for 40 years, these billionaires, the ruling parties of the billionaires have been gutting every gain our people have bled for.
That's right.
Every gain our people have bled, fought for.
Walk with it, church.
Democrats or Republicans have never granted us anything. And Democrats are great at stealing our wins and parading it as if they are theirs. But we have made those gains for working class people, the movements. And now under Trump, reorganization of a bipartisan war against working class people. That has been happening for 40 years. There is a reorganizing of governments that is taking place here in the United States because everything that Trump is doing is intentional, and it is something that the next person who sits in the White House will not fix because it's intentionally done to serve billionaires. They're attempting to reorganize the map to serve U.S. interests. It's a reorganization of a dying system. And in the midst of this system, capitalism, U.S. imperialism, attempting to survive, the level, the ferocious attacks against working class people increase. That is where we are today. For 40 years, I'm gonna date myself, and it's okay, because black don't cry.
That's right.
In 1980, the year I was born, 46 years ago, Reagan, Republican, yes, right? But it's not about Reagan. His project, which is the project of billionaires, continued by Democrats like Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and I'm gonna stop right there. A lot of us who have come from oppressed communities, specifically black communities, there's a certain level of pride we felt when Obama won. Right? Valid. But let us not get it twisted. Obama served his purpose. His presidency was precisely to be charming, was precisely to be black, was precisely to become a cultural icon, to then go ahead and bomb 6 countries, to then go ahead and expand ICE. Let's not get that twisted. Joe Biden is part of that project. You know this one. Kamala Harris is part of that project. We can talk about the squad later. But Reagan broke air traffic controllers unions. Clinton signed NAFTA, sending 2 million manufacturing jobs to Mexico to exploit cheap labor without any regulation. Obama bailed out the banks, not the people, and deported millions of people. Created the cages that Trump utilized in 2019 to lock up babies at the border. Biden crushed the rail strike in 2022 and proceeded to fund the ongoing genocide in Gaza. This is by design. This is not a coincidence. This is not a glitch in the system. The system is designed precisely to do what it's doing. This is not about any individual. It's about the project that they represent and sustain. And I'm going to give you a free advice that was given to me when I was 13 years old and entered the movement. If you want to know what people stand for, find out what project they're willing to die for. And these people are willing to kill and die to protect capitalism. They will sacrifice their mothers on the altar for capitalism. So it is the project that they are defending, that they're sending our babies to die, that they're killing our babies for, that's the problem. In the 1980s and 90s, I don't know, some of you might be too young to remember the tough on crime policies that came about, but I remember. And Democrats, including Biden, backed mass incarceration and Kamala Harris, which stripped millions of poor and formerly incarcerated people, mainly black and Latino, from voting. By 2016, were banned from voting due to felonies. Now, if you know what I know, the criminal justice system is criminal.
That's right.
Because only poor people go to jail.
That's right.
Say that.
So there's a plan in that. There's an intention in that. The Voting Rights Act of 1965 won because people bled and fought for it. It's not just granted to us. If you get an opportunity, folks should definitely read Dr. Martin Luther King's Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community. Because he spoke about the first phase of a revolution.
Yeah.
And we have an incomplete revolutionary process that we need to finish. They let it happen. Under Trump, we've seen over 400 voter suppression bills introduced in 49 states, particularly in the South of the United States. Voter ID laws, closing polls, specifically in black and brown neighborhoods, purges of voter rolls. So when Trump attacks the Voting Rights Act, he's not breaking from the establishment.
Yeah.
He's fortifying the establishment. He's not doing anything out of the ordinary. He's accelerating a process that started 40-some-odd years ago. When people hear Project 2025, they have a sense or an idea that somehow Project 2025 started in 2025, but it started 40-somewhat years ago. And both Democrats and Republicans have taken turns making sure that the foundation is laid out to do exactly what they're doing now. Because when the Democrats don't play dumb, they play dead. And they play with our lives. So then let's talk a little bit about our pockets.
Yeah.
They hurt me, man. I don't know about you, but my pockets were hurting. It's like, yeah, it's ouch. Ouch, groceries. Ouch, rent. Ouch, guys. You know how many times I send people to hell? The billionaires. In a day. But from 1978 to 2022, the top 1% saw a wealth increase of over $21 trillion. I'm gonna say that again, $21 trillion. Wow. From 2001 to 2020, they spent $21 trillion of our wealth in never-ending wars. Their wealth has increased 2,625 times more than the wealth of the 50% of the population. In just the last 2 years, billionaires like Elon Musk, boo, and Jeff Bezos, triple, have added over 1.5 trillion to their net worth, while 60% of people live paycheck to paycheck. While over 500,000 people are houseless in the wealthiest country in the world.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Trump administration just gave $200 billion in tax breaks to corporations, paid for by cutting food assistance, health care, housing vouchers for the poorest people in this country. This is the biggest wealth transference from the pockets of working class people to the billionaires in history. It is a heist. That is what they are doing. And I wrote this down not to deviate, but I'm going to deviate right now. ICE is now being overseen by one of the executives of the GEO group that gets contracting money for detaining people. Again, the bipartisan consensus is lock up the poor, keep them sick, surveil the people, militarize the border and the streets, and call it national security.
Wow.
And we cannot, in any way, shape, or form, disconnect that, what is happening to us here in this country, to what the United States government is doing across the world. U.S. foreign policy equals U.S. imperialism. That's what it is. When they talk about U.S. foreign policy equals U.S. imperialism. And we need to be really clear that these people might disagree on how they move forward on U.S. imperialist interests, but they are all for U.S. imperialism. Both Democrats and Republicans. They fight over who gives approval for what war, not the war itself. They both approved $1.5 trillion for the Pentagon to keep bombing babies in Gaza, to keep starving populations, to keep attacking Lebanon, Yemen, to keep bombing places in Latin America, militarizing Haiti, militarizing Puerto Rico, coercing nation states all across this continent. It's a shame, but that is where our money goes. So when people are like, you want free healthcare, you want free education, who's gonna pay for it? You know what? We paid for it already.
Yeah.
We already paid for it. It is more than possible because if they have 1.5 trillion to invest in war, they have 1.5 trillion to invest in life. I want to respect time because I saw the little, blue sign already. I think it's very important for us to understand that we are in a decisive moment in history. And we're in a critical moment where there are very, very chaotic things happening, and they're happening consistently, and they're happening continuously with intention.
Yeah.
Because if you're able to fog people's clarity, people will act in a very disorganized, unclear way. It is important for us to understand that the system wants us to be isolated.
That's right.
That the system wants us to continue to work in fragmented movements.
Well.
Where you have the LGBTQ community here working for LGBTQ rights, where you have immigrant rights workers working here for immigrant rights, where you have student organizations not leaving their universities or high schools, where you have folks that are anti-war doing anti-war here without any type of communication with other people. We need to understand that these are war times.
Yeah.
But the war isn't against, Democrats and Republicans. The war that has always existed is a class war.
Yes, it is.
It is a class war. It is a war against working class people that is being launched by the minority group. Because they are the minority group. They build ecosystems that makes them seem bigger than what they are. They have control of the media. They have control of spaces, including public spaces. They have control of the armed forces. But we have control of our labor. We have control of what we produce.
Yes, right.
And that is the biggest power that we need to yield. We need to be able to utilize that power.
That's right.
People will say, general strike. January 23rd, January 30th, May 1st. How many of you go to the gym? How many of you have been to a gym? How many of you work out in your house?
Yeah.
With those bottles and stuff. I hope everybody's taking their 10,000 steps a day. You know what I'm saying? That's important. Get some sunshine. Listen, the way that we learn how to do things is through practice.
That's right.
The way that our muscles gain memory is where we're talking about utilizing our labor. We're talking about exercising a muscle
Yeah.
that the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, and the billionaires have intentionally told us that we shouldn't exercise. We need to learn by practice. And so we need to shut it down whenever we need to shut it down and keep shutting this thing down as much as I'm behaving, Pastor. Those who know me know that my mouth is like my tongue is ready to speak it, but I'm holding it. We need to shut it down and we cannot believe the lies we're told by our enemies when they tell us, you're singing to the choir. I want to ask the people here, how many of you joined movement spaces in the last 2 years? That is a result of people coming out and protesting the genocide. If people wouldn't have been on those streets, believe me, you, Joe Biden, and Kamala would not have pushed you to do what you're doing.
All right.
It was the movement that called. It was the people that called. So we need to continue to take the streets. We need to continue to take space in our universities. We need to continue to take space in our unions. We need to continue to take space in the barbershop, in the salons, in every space. In every space. Socialism is possible wherever there's struggle. Wherever there is struggle, there's the possibility of building socialism.
Yeah.
Because socialism is the only rational conclusion to the chaos of capitalism. But in order for us to be able to build socialism, we cannot do that in isolation. We cannot do that individually. We cannot do it in fragmentation.
Yeah.
We need to build a socialist working class party that is not only representative of our people, but is making our people protagonists in building their future. A party that organizes in the streets, a party that organizes in communities, a party that organizes to the ballot box as a megaphone, as an alarm that the people are here, we're not going to take this anymore, and we're building the power of the people to take economic and political power. We need to make it really clear. When they tell us that it is not viable, we must let it be known we are undeniable, that we are unstoppable, and we are unavoidable. But we cannot do that alone. We do that as part of a political party that is aligned and is committed and has the interests of the people at heart. Organized struggle is the only way. We fight U.S. imperialism with working class internationalism, and we fight capitalism and fascism with socialism. And 60% of the people in the United States believe that. They believe it because they understand that the current system isn't working.
Yeah.
60%. We need to understand, again, that we belong